Another day of hand reading. As you can see, we're on day 49 of 66 days. Things are going really well. I think this is totally helping my game. In the past few days, we did some hero hand ranging. We did some villains before that. Today, we're going to do dual hand reading. Both ranges today, villain and hero, of course. So, this is yesterday's hand. Let's take a look through the MP, see if we can find some other good hands to do some dual reading with. Ooh, aggressive, and then passive on Future Street. So we get a little bit of action from me and the villain here. It'll probably help us narrow down ranges really well. So let's get to it. Yeah, I like this hand. 878-21807. Of course, we're using, Of course, we're using Split Suit's hand templates. You can get those at splitsuit.com/templates. Here we are. So in this hand, we are in the MP. I guess you're first to act, but because we're missing a player, it's actually in the MP. That's how Poker Tracker 4 looks at it. In MP, we open 2 folds. Xeno99 calls. Okay, cool. So Xeno99 is our opponent, the small blind. In MP, open to 3 big blinds. SB calls. What kind of player is he? Xeno99, 61 hands, so a decent sample right now. Not exactly loose passive, not really tight passive, kind of in the middle right here. But let's say he's 3-betting 0 out of 22 instances. So yeah, he's more passive than aggressive for sure. Half the hands raising, half the hands that he plays, he's raising. So yeah, we could just say loose passive in general. It is only 61 hands. We need a little bit more to go off of. But this is actually, that's good enough at least to assess what kind of player he is, how he's likely to approach post-flop play. And then it also gives us enough information to start ranging him pre-flop. So, as you know, as always, if we're doing dual hand reading, we're using Hold EQ along with 2 Flopzilla windows right here. We're going to start with my window up top, villain's window or villain's range down here below. So, I made the open, of course. From under the gun, normally I'm opening roughly somewhere between 12 to 15% of hands. Because it is MP, actually, let's increase it just a little bit here. Sometimes I'll open this, but not always, so I'll keep it in. Of course, every single pocket pair. I'd probably be opening King, Queen, and Ace, Jack offsuit. I'm going to say that this is my MP opening range, roughly 17%, 222 combos. Was it 16%? 17% equity. Now we want to take a look at our opponent's calling range. Now, obviously, our opponent is a bit loose passive in the small blind, so already had some money committed right there. Is probably a much wider range than, much wider more so than tight calling range here. So, we haven't seen any 3-bets at all. Whoops, where'd the hand go? My bad. We have not seen any 3-bets at all yet from this opponent. So I am going to say that no 3-bets at all. So we've got to give him a pretty tight 3-betting range. So aces, kings, and queens are 3-betting. Calling. I'm going to say these are calling as well. Also, when you think about it, we raised from his perspective. Who knows if he thinks about MP or not, but we were the first to act under the gun. It's probably a tighter range. Or his perception of our range is that we're on a smaller range. So let's give him a much more narrow 3-betting range right here. We could say he's capable of calling everything. You know, Ace-King offsuit is probably capable of calling as well. But we'll give him at least, 4 hands of a suited hand that is capable, that it will be 3-betting here. So if he shows up with one of those, so be it. But queens are better. Ace-King is his 3-betting range. Let's say that he is calling... I don't want to go that far, that he's calling suited queens. What is his calling percentage so far? Call the 2-bet in the small blind. 0. Oh, it's only 5, but he calls 38% out of the big blind. So let's not give him a super wide calling range here. Some people do like those. Let's give him every one of the aces, though. Let's go as far down as that. Let's give him the suited kings. Let's not give him that or that or that. Let's say this. Let's give him a 32% calling range. I still think it's a bit tight, but I think if he in this spot, if he does look down at a queen 8 or a jack 8, it's possible he can choose to play it. He might not call every single time, depending on the size of our raise and what's been going on at the table. I only have 61 hands on the guy, so it's tough. Yeah, I'm going to give him a slightly wider calling range at 32% right here, 428 combos. But most likely, with all the action that we're going to be seeing soon, we're going to be able to narrow it down quite a bit. 32, 428. All right. So, currently, with his wider range and our more narrow opening range, we are looking at, we have 56% equity. Range versus range at this time. Let's see how the flop changes things. Jack 6-5, heart club club. So on this flop right here, of course, we have all the sets in our range, as does our opponent. He has all of those as well. He currently has 41% equity, so this board, our range does much better on this board, a 1-up, 2-down board than his does. Sure, he has a lot more different kind of flush draws than we do, but just in general, we still have the overpairs, aces, kings, and queens in our range. We also have a good amount of overcards, suited aces. Yeah, we don't have a ton of weaker, like, non-ace kind of hands that completely whiffed on this board or hit some kind of a backdoor draw. So things are looking good. 59% equity. Jack of hearts, 6-5, 59, 41. Okay, so what happens on the flop here? We are in position. He checks to us. We bet $1.25. Pretty nice. It looks closer to a value bet. If I was just bluffing, oftentimes I make just a half pot, or maybe I'll make it a half pot is like 86 cents. I might, or what, 88 cents. I might make it just, I might go up to an even dollar for big blinds to make it look slightly more scary, just up it a little bit from a half pot. But this looks like I'm going more so for value. So let's look at my value getting range. Totally for sets, 2 pair. We can see we've got full stacks right here. So the stack to pot ratio is really high pre-flop and on the flop. So there's a lot of money to be had. If I did hit something super strong, I've got to be betting for value. No slow playing against the more passive players. So sets, 2 pairs are betting. Over pairs are betting. Top pairs, and they're all pretty decent top pairs. The weakest is a Jack 9. So 2 different undercards, Jack 10 and Jack 9. I'm totally betting those. Pocket pairs below. Yep. Got to throw out the bet. I am in position. If he does have a flush draw, I want to charge him for those draws. If he has 2 overcards like King, Queen, I want to charge him to hit one of those draws because currently my pocket pair does beat everything except for top pair better. Ace-6 and 7-6. I do like those for betting the mid pairs. Oftentimes weak pairs, the under pairs, and just the random 5 that I could have, I'm often checking behind those. Not always, though. What does this fold to cbet? 50% of the time, 1 out of 2. It's not the biggest of samples to take a look at. So I might be betting those just to get them to fold now and to take it down with my showdown worthy hand, come to think of it. So let's bet 1 street here. I'm not going to say all my ace highs are betting, but possibly I'm betting as a semi-bluff with some draws. So I'm going to say my flush draws are betting. Open-enders, totally betting. Gut shots, yep, I would be betting with that. Overcards, yes, I am quite often betting with the overcards there. And I don't treat 2-guard backdoors automatically as a bet, but actually I do bet them quite often. Well, that's a 2 pair already. I have that betting, so I don't need to worry about that. But what do I want to remove from my... Actually, no, let's keep it in. I think I'm probably c-betting quite a big range here. It is a hard-to-hit board. I'm bluffing and going for value with a lot. So, yeah, 90% of my range. 181 hands. All right, what is his flop range for checking and then calling on this board? We got full stacks behind. He doesn't need to check raise just yet, although if I were him, I would check raise with a set. But I don't know about him. Oftentimes, the more passive players do like to slow play one street, and then they'll get active on the turn and river. So let's put sets in his check calling range, because I just don't know enough about the guy to know that he's check raising every one of his sets. No two pairs, no over pairs. Top pairs, wait a second, let me take a look here. Okay, good. Yep, check calling with all those. He doesn't have to do a check raise with ace jack. I mean, he's still losing to my queens, kings, and aces, so those can check call. Pocket pair below, yep. If he doesn't believe that I have a top pair beat, or that I have a top pair or better, he can be check calling there. Mid pairs, all those random sixes. He is out of position. He's folded 50% of the time. It's not a lot, but he's more passive than anything. Let's give him calling the mid pairs on the flop at least. The weak pairs, we're saying he's folding those. Just straight up ace high is folding. Flush draws, totally check calling. Open ender, 8-7, totally check calling. Gut shot, why not for one street? Why not? Especially if I don't even have like any pair at all. I have ace king, ace queen, king 10, something like that. The gut shot could totally hit. He can even hit a pair and take it down with some showdown equity with a pair of 9s or 8s or 7s in this instance. Over cards, I'm not going to say that those are check calling. Some of those over cards are included in these other hands that we've got. So now, all right. So is he check calling all those 46% of the time? He could actually one street doing the check call, even though we sized our bet way bigger than half pot. He could be making it. Let's keep these in for one street, and then we'll see what happens on the turn. But a lot of players do like to call, even though they're out of position, they still have 6 outs to an overpair, which if he doesn't automatically put us on aces, kings, or queens, all of those are an out to win. Yeah, so let's give him calling the overcard. So he's calling 46% of the time, means he's folding 54% of the time. So our bet, if it's just a straight bluff, is totally making money because he's folding often enough to make it a profitable bet. 46%, 180 combos, which means we have the same number of combos. No, not 86, 46%. So now, if I'm ranging us accurately, my range versus his range, we actually have 48% equity because we have so many, we're below 50% right now. And the reason why is because we have so many more bluffs in our betting range than he does in his calling range right here. He's not calling straight bluffs. I shouldn't say straight bluffs calling. He's not calling with hands with 0 equity. Everything he's calling with has some sort of equity, whether it's a nut hand with sets or whether it's like an open ender or a gut shot. We do have some just straight bluffs in our range. That's why now he's slightly ahead at this point. But we do have position, and we have the betting initiative right now. So, another 5 hits of spades this time. Doesn't change the board too much. You can see actually that with our ranges, we're still at sub 50%, 49% actually. So let's see what the action is. Now he leads out for 237. What a weird size bet. So he actually typed in 237 because that's not, exactly a half pot. 56%, 55%. Yeah. All right. So he typed that in. Now, when your opponents wake up with aggression on the turn, it often signifies a decent to a strong hand. Not always, but often. And I don't think we know enough about this player to know that like betting out of position on the turn, 33%, 1 out of 3 so far. So this makes it 50%, 2 out of 4. Maybe it's possible that he treats the turn as a bluffing opportunity. Maybe he knows that people that turn and river aggression equals strength, so he uses that. It's possible. Not enough about we don't know enough yet to conclude that, but it's a possibility. So we decide to just call at this point. Now, I guess I could be calling with flush draws. I doubt I'm calling with overcards, though. I'll think about it for a sec. So first off, what is he betting in this instance? Sure, betting his quads, trying to get value. He doesn't want to check and then allow us to check behind. Then he's missing value with a super nut hand. Full houses, pocket jacks, and 6s. Great, yeah, he's totally betting those for value. Doesn't have any straights, none of those, none of them. Top pair time. I mean, I guess if he's afraid of us checking behind, that we have nothing because the 5 I guess it's possible he's betting with the top pair hand, and it could be kind of a blocking bet as well. What was the size of our bet? 125 divided by 175. So we bet 71% pot on the flop. If we would do that same percentage here, 71% is like $3. Yeah, $3 is what we'd be betting here. So it could possibly be kind of a blocking bet. He is betting to preclude us from, or to preempt us from betting 71% again. So maybe he does have some kind of a draw that he's betting in order to save money and still see the river at a price that he sets. Plus, he adds a little bit of fold equity by donk leading on the river on the turn here. So top pairs could be doing it to make a blocking bet. Pocket pairs below, totally doing it just as a straight bluff. And mid pairs, I don't think so. My guess is mid pairs are check calling. I'm not going to put those in his range. Weak pairs doesn't have any. Ace high time. I'm not a fan of any of those. Well, you know, they could be a straight bluff, but then if that's the case, it's just a straight bluff. He just has an ace and is just bluffing on that card. I don't think that's the case. I think if he's bluffing, he's probably using some equity with some kind of a draw. No made hand, no. Flush draws, totally betting right now, setting the price to see the river so he doesn't have to call a $3 bet. Yeah, not no flush draw. Open enders was, it's still the 8-7. If he called with the 8-7, hoping he'd be good, the 5 shouldn't scare him. It's not like we automatically have a full house. He might still be on an open ender, but I am not going to say he's calling with gut shots or over cards. So we're gonna narrow him down to some nutted hands, decent top pairs, pocket pair, you know, some hands with showdown value, and some of the best draws right here is what we'll say that he has. 112 and 63% of that prior street. Oh, whoops. Forgot this part. We had 49%. He had 51%. His range, his prior range is 63%, 112 combos now. So we've dropped him quite a bit from a pre-flop 428 down to 112 combos. So we've actually removed 75% of his range so far. So things are looking good. We have a pretty good grasp of where we are at in the hand. We are calling right now. So what am I calling with? Instead of raising, as you can see, there's a ton of money. Whoops, let's put the call out there. After the call, the pot is $9, and we have 21 and 34 behind. If I had jacks full or sixes full, I'm probably raising. Even quad fives, I'm probably giving a min raise right now just to build that pot a little bit more to get extra value out of this passive player. So I do not have quads in my calling range. I do not have, excuse me, I do not have full houses in my calling range. No straights. 3 of a kind. Man, if I hit a miracle turn trips, I've got to be raising. I've got to. I'm going for max value here. I'm not going to put him on a pocket sixes for a full house that beats my trips. No way. I'm not calling with just those hands. Over pairs, now that he woke up with aggression, I can be calling. Instead of re-raising right now, I can be just calling with over pairs. I could re-raise sometimes as well, but over pairs are in my calling range, not 2 pair. Top pair, totally calling with those. Pocket pair below, I think I can be calling with those. It is close to a 50% pot size bet, so I can call with pocket pairs below. Mid pairs now, mid pairs. I'm often folding at this point. The guy suddenly woke up with aggression on the turn. These only have, you know, second pair. There's a possible trips out there that he could be donk leading on. I'm just not a big fan of calling with such weak equity. Pocket pairs below, because he has so many bluffs, like I said, he could be bluffing with the flush draws, could be bluffing with the open ender, could be bluffing with I guess flush draws and open enders. Yeah, everything else kind of beats the pocket pair below top right now. Yeah, I think I can call those. I won't call this other stuff. The flush draw, I could call. I would like, if I had a flush draw, I would really like a raise though, right here. But I don't put calling out of the possibilities, out of my possibilities. So open enders, I can call. Gut shots, no. Yeah, so we've narrowed my range by passively playing this turn quite a bit more than his range here. 84 combos, 48%. Now let's do a little bit of assessing here. You know, our equities right now. So we're ahead, just looking at the ranges right now, we're ahead 52% of the time, which really, isn't, it's not a huge equity, what am I thinking? It's not a huge equity advantage right now. So really, if I do have some of these value hands, over pairs, top pairs, it's not a necessity that I raise to get max value. This is a spot, when you look at range versus range and you're about a 50-50, this is a spot really that you should kind of play, you should tend to play a little bit more conservatively, not build a crazy big pot when you're only a 52% favorite, when you look at your entire range right here. You know, you want to really build the pot when you're like a 70, 80, 90, 100% favorite. That's when you really want to get a ton of money in. But when it's a 50-50 shot on the turn with one more card to come, there's no need to really to push the action and to build the pot to get value. There just really isn't at this point. So I like the call with that entire range right there. I think it's definitely a profitable call. And by calling, let's say I do have a great top pair, ace jack right now. Great. Well, he could bet and barrel the river with, like, you know, king jack, queen jack, 10 jack, things that my ace kicker actually beats. So I'm getting value by not re-raising right now. I'm getting value from those worser cards that are just going to continue piling money into the pot. So I'm down with my turn play. 3 of diamonds. What does it do to the board? Well, it doesn't really do anything to the board. Sure, a 7-4 or a deuce 4 if somebody happened to stay in with one of those cards, suddenly hit a straight right now. But it doesn't complete the flush. It doesn't complete the open-ender. It doesn't really do much of anything. So as you can see, currently with the turn ranges, we're still basically 50-50. You know, we've got only 54% equity. Things aren't great for us. They're not bad. At least we're ahead at this point. Range versus range ahead, but you know, it's not like we should be trying to get our full $22 stack in on this $9 pot. No. 449. So exactly half pot. So it went from, I bet 71% on the flop. He bet 56% on the turn, and then now he's betting a little bit smaller, 55% on the river. Or 50% on the river. It feels like a value bet to me. So what is he making this value bet with on the 3 of diamonds here? Quads, totally. I think he could size it a little bit bigger, but maybe he just feels that we're not calling with hardly anything and he just wants value out of us. So we've got to give him those. We've got to give him the full house as their total possibility here. No straights. No. Doesn't have any of those. Top pairs. Now, come on, right click. Let's say that, really, is he going to be barreling? He could. It's possible he could be barreling with these under kickers right here, but oftentimes my guess is he'd be check calling quite a bit. By doing this with the top pair hand, you could say he's turning his hand into a bluff and he's going to fold if we raise, which is totally possible. But another thing is, like he did possibly on the turn, he's setting his own price to see showdown. When I see a half pot bet, if I only have a top pair hand, am I really going to be raising him? I mean, the guy suddenly woke up with aggression on the turn and he continued it on the river. Means he likes his hand. If I do have any jack, any top pair hand, it doesn't really do me much incentive to be raising right now. I don't think that's the play. I think by doing this, he's either block betting or just trying to go for some max value here. So actually, I think he could be making this block bet with every pair. I'm not going to automatically take out Jack 8 because the 8's a crap kicker at this time. He's setting his own price to see showdown, so let's say he's doing that. Pocket pair below, now I think because we called on the turn and that 3 didn't improve him, I think those should just be checking and then possibly check calling or check folding on the river here. Mid pairs, weak pairs, I don't think should be betting. I mean, who knows? Maybe he is betting them, and it'll be interesting to see if he can actually bet an ace 3 right now, just as a straight bluff. He did decrease his sizing, but decreasing his sizing could be a sign that he's bluffing, and it could be a sign that he feels that his full house or his quads cannot be called by hardly anything, so he's betting smaller to get value out of us. That's possible too. So I'm saying, like, really, he's got all of his top pairs in his range, as well as just the nuts right here. So 55%, 61 combos. So we've narrowed him down from 428 down to 83%. We've removed 83% of his range. That's pretty good. Pretty darn good. Let's see what is calling at this point. Calling the over pairs. Yep, because that 3 didn't help anything. If I thought I was good on the turn 5, I should be good again still, of course. I'm calling over pairs. Just remove these so you see that. top pairs. Yeah, I'm calling with all of these. Like I said, he could be betting the Jack 8, the Jack 9, the Jack 10. So if he's betting the Jack 8, my Jack 9 beats it. Betting the Jack 8, Jack 9, my Jack 10 beats it. Betting the 8, 9, and 10, all of these overcard kickers beat it. So I'm going to be calling right here with every top pair hand. Pocket pairs below, I'm probably giving up at this point. Yeah, so I think I'm only betting really, or not betting, calling with hands with decent showdown equity at this point. So 50% of my range. So now because he does have these top pairs, he does have those weaker Jack 8, Jack 9, and Jack 10, and even Jack 10 offsuit in his range. We are currently, oh, where'd it go? We're currently ahead at 71% equity. So I think it's a good call. I don't think it's necessarily a spot that we have to raise to get value. Just because I think the only things once we raise, the only things that are calling our raise or even possibly going over the top are, let's now filter this out. Let's see. The only things that are calling or going over the top might be, if we do raise right now, maybe the King Jack would, but let's just say that. And then those full houses and quads. Now, if that were the point, or if that were the case, if he's only calling a re-raise right now with the nutted top pair hands and the quads and full house, then he's 63% ahead. But because he does have some of those weaker top pairs in, we're ahead a decent amount here, but not ahead enough to make the raise, I think. All right. Dun, dun, dun. 50%. What was it? 42 combos. Lovely. What do we got? We call. He shows the pocket tens, the under pair, and the pocket queens. So, pocket queens are still in my range. And then I said that he would have folded his pocket. Let's remove this. His pocket pairs below top pair, those tens were in right now. So this is interesting. This guy is capable of double barreling the turn in the river for about 50% as, I mean, are they really value bets? Or was he bluffing? It doesn't feel like a value bet. It feels like a blocking bet. It feels like he wanted to get to showdown, but didn't want to pay. Like, what could I have bet? Like, realistically, $9 pot. You know, let's look at, oh, well, 66% is just $6. So I could have bet $6. I could have bet $7 or $8 even to get value out of him, which he probably would have called with his tens. So this was a bet, a bluff / blocking bet. Probably not a value bet at all, because what am I calling with that he beats? Am I really calling with sixes or a pair of threes or even a pair of nines or eights at this point? I don't think I'm calling. I think he made a blocking bluff bet just in hopes of seeing the river, seeing showdown at his price. All right, so let me make a note here. Players can bet turn and river as blocking bets to set their own price to see the next street and to see showdown. I really think that's what he was doing. I do not think this was a value bet at all. It was a blocking bet, even when he bet that turn, right? Oh, even when he bet the turn right there. That was a blocking bet as well. Blocking, yep, for sure. So let's see. Small blind call, pocket tens, flop jacket, check call, then donk lead barrel, turn river, second pair. I'm going to make a better note than this. Capable of turn and river, blocking bets with little showdown equity, because I really do feel the hands that I'm calling him with, he has very little equity. So wait, where are we at? This is the villain right here. Let's, instead of all this stuff, we got to keep the board here. Let's clear this. Let's just give him pocket tens right there. So you could see, I mean, literally, with the range that we got to the river with and the range that we're calling with, his pocket tens have zero equity right now. So my note on him, sure, it said very little showdown equity. I'll just be a little bit more clear. Under pair. Nah, very little showdown equity. So capable of turn river, bluff, blocking bets, out of position with little showdown equity. Great, that's a better note to make on this player right here. So in the future, I can be aware of when he does make turn and river bets and raises, I should be calling down slightly wider. Like, let's say I did have, instead of just the jack 9, I mean, even if I had all these random other jacks in my range, I should be calling with 100% of my top pair hands at this time, because he's capable of making blocking bluff bets. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that was an enjoyable video. That was day 49. Come back next time for day 50 of 66 days of hand reading. I do appreciate your time, your study time with me today. Take care.